Hello and welcome to Think Like a Game Designer. I'm your host, Justin Gary. In this podcast, I speak with world-class game designers and creative pioneers across multiple industries. Each episode takes you on a deep dive into the creative process, exploring the nuances of game design and the extensive cultural, technological, and business factors influencing various creative fields. Tune in for practical tips and inspiring insights that will expand your creative perspective, whether it's inside the gaming realm or beyond. I have something I am so excited to finally announce. If you are serious about designing games, not just thinking about games, not just listening to the podcast and dreaming about games, but actually finishing your own designs, then I have created something for you. It is the brand new Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab. It is a step-by-step system that I have created and tested with dozens of other creators and other aspiring designers that includes over 60 lessons to take you from generating ideas to building prototypes to finding playtesters, refining your core design loop, all the way through publishing, running a crowdfund, and even getting hired in the industry. You'll also get access to my private design Discord filled with me, members of the Stoneblade team, and other creators all actively building games. Plus, I've got some incredible bonuses for people who join right now and for longtime fans of the podcast. If you're ready to stop pretending and start actually designing games with intention, check out the Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab at justingarydesigns.com. In today's episode, I speak with Ross Thompson. Ross is a veteran in the tabletop industry with over 15 years of experience in community building, event leadership, and marketing. He most recently served as director of marketing at Atomic Mass Games, where he helped bring iconic licensed titles like Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and Shatterpoint to life for fans around the world. After an exciting run there, Ross stepped into a new chapter earlier this year, and he's now serving as the media and events director on the board at GAMA, the Tabletop Game Association, advocating for the industry and supporting events that bring our community together. I've known Ross for many years, and he is someone who walks the walk. He's a passionate hobbyist, painting minis, hitting conventions, even started his own convention. And we talk all about how to build events, how to build marketing, how to think about marketing in the modern era for the tabletop game industry, and how to be able to potentially even create your own events, create your own presence. What does it mean whether you're a small company, big company, solo designer, solo creator, or even someone who just wants to have more of an impact in the world around you? Ross is a great human being and someone who has connected me to countless others. We also go into some of the resources Ross has created for creating tabletop game growth around the industry and around the world, including a jobs posting link, which I highly recommend for those looking to get into the industry. So all of that and more is in this episode. So I will wrap up this intro, and without any further ado, here is Ross Thompson. Hello and welcome. I am here with Ross Thompson. Ross, so great to have you here, man.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So we've been friends for many, many years, and I have seen you bounce around the industry and have an amazing impact. I've even secretly tried to recruit you a few times myself, and so it's great to get to share your wisdom with the crowd. And you know, I want to kind of start. I'll get to your origin story a little bit because I don't know if I know your full background, but I've always thought of you as kind of a super connector in ways that you have like built relationships across the industry. You've organized networking events. You've organized communities, including the Tabletop Games Jobs Board, which is tens of thousands of people that want to get into the industry. You've organized get-togethers with people who are industry veterans. I love this as a superpower. I think it's one of the most important things. And one of the reasons I love tabletop games in general is like connecting people. How did you have you always been this way? Like what's motivated you to kind of do that? Because it's a lot of work. It's not necessarily an easy thing. Does this come naturally to you? Talk to me about how you got into this.
Thanks for bringing that up. I just like bringing people together. I think it's very fun. I think one of the things, we don't have a lot of onboarding in the tabletop game space. I mean, you've been a big proponent of, hey, you got to go out and learn what you're doing and everything there. And then finding mentors. And this podcast, also in particular, I use all the time to be like, hey, go listen to these things and do all of that. But at the same time, like it's tough to find, hey, I want to do this thing. And in the tabletop space in general, I think we're one of the few industries where everyone is very happy to share information and very happy to do that kind of stuff. So, but it does take somebody to take that step to, hey, let's all do this thing and get that going. So, I mean, I used to throw a lot of fun parties in high school, like with marching band and stuff like that and everything there. So like getting people together wasn't all of that. And I ran a convention for like 10 years too. And that was pretty much because like my friends moved to away for college and I wanted to get them back so that we could keep playing games. So when I made the industry jump to start doing some of those things, I already had a lot of the information. Like the jobs group started as an Excel sheet, and then Jessica Fisher was like, we should do a Facebook group for that. And I'm like, oh, that'd be a lot easier. So then I started posting them in the Facebook group instead of in the Excel sheet stuff. And then a lot of the networking stuff was just kind of it makes it easier. Like I run the big party at Comic-Con. It's about 400 people now. I book out a whole brewery on Thursday. And that just started because I was inviting people that were on the panels that I was running. And then it was like, we need a bigger space to host everything. So now I have to run a party because that's just how it is to find space downtown. Right. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I just enjoy doing it. I mean, we also have I've been in the space now for about 17 years, which is wild to even think about. Right. And that's a few eras of generational people that have come in, and there's new folk coming in all the time. So I think the more that we can get kind of that cross information sharing is cool. So
Yeah. So I want to let's tease this apart. So one, you've kind of been doing this to some extent your whole life, and there's a natural affinity for it. But for the details on two separate sides, right? So one, I just want to linger for a minute on this tabletop James jobs group, because it's for anybody out there that does not have a job in the tabletop industry or is looking to hire people in the tabletop industry. It's a great resource. It's free. It's available on Facebook. So that's just a great thing that you've done, a service to the community. There's building online communities like that. And then there's building like physical communities and presence at events like Comic-Con or, GAMA we'll talk about as well. Like, what would you say is the key to, doing that stuff successfully? Or is there anything that you would say for somebody else out there that wanted to say, oh, well, that's great, I'm a social person, I like to get people together. Like, how do I get started? What would be a good way to approach it? And you could take either side of it, either the sort of physical.
Yeah, let's do the in-person stuff first.
Okay.
So I think when doing that, it was a way of like, we're at conventions, right? Everybody is there, and it's, oh my gosh, do I want to do a dinner? We should go and do this thing, and all of that. And so I think one of the things that kind of got me into that was, well, if I can create a space that we're hosting and all of that, then we can kind of keep the narrative going. I'm almost 6 years sober now, right? And so, which is amusing that I host together at a brewery. We'll get into that, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, for a long time, coming in like at GAMA and other shows, a lot of the industry things were at a bar, right? And it's like, hey, we're going to hang out. Oh, the bar's going to be covered, and then whatever there. But if we come in with intent of being like, hey, we're going to hang out, we're going to get together, we're going to talk about these things, especially in person, it's kind of a fun way to do that. And with so many different tracks we have in the space, whether it's retailers or distributors or publishers or creators, knowing what that focus is good. And we've got so many folk that are trying to get into the tabletop game space now that if somebody wants to put it together and get it going, I recommend going for it, right? Like people are always looking for more stuff, and especially it's like discoverability is very difficult right now with our online spaces, with Twitter kind of getting really weird and TikTok making its stuff and Blue Sky's doing that. But how do you find somebody new that could be doing a really cool thing you're doing? Oh, I don't really know. Hey, we're going to have a miniatures designers get together at Epicon, come hang out at this time. We're going to have some publishers there, do all that. And now you've got a way to do that. Obviously, on a publisher's end, we're going to host an early preview for some cards or some minis or things there, but that's more structured. So I think if people want to do that kind of stuff, definitely go for it. And the cool thing is you don't have to do it around a convention either. I mean, Seattle, San Diego, St. Louis, Vegas, Philadelphia, New York, those are a lot of cool hubs for industry folk too. I know Mary Cousin, who runs People to Play, she's been doing little get-togethers around the country, which you can organize. They get organized through the Toy Association. So that's the thing I want to start doing as GAMA, is seeing if we can do some of these things like that. Obviously, that's a down the road thing, but I think within the gaming industry, those kind of in-person things are a lot. We can only see so much from someone's online persona and how they engage. So getting able to hang out is nice.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. I'm gonna try to parse a few lessons that I heard that I
Go for
think
it.
are universalizable, and then a few that maybe that people can we could talk about a little bit more. So
Sure.
one, right? There's a you know going to where the people are
Yep.
and finding a space to do that, right? So conventions are an easy thing, and I always recommend, right? We've talked a lot about GAMA, and we'll talk more about it where this is for as the time we're recording this next, we're both headed there next week.
Right.
You're on the GAMA board as a few months ago, so you're very deeply involved in that. That's a great like industry tabletop game industry insider event, right? It's all people that
Yeah.
are retailers, distributors, stores. So if you're looking to be in the space, they're not a consumer show at all. Other events like Gen Con or Comic Con, which you're also heavily involved in, are ones that have more consumer presence. But as you said, major cities, where there's events, where running events in major cities where there's hubs is also great. So finding a spot, if there's something real where you are, or traveling to one of these locations makes sense. I think there's also something I heard you say that I think is really important to emphasize, and I've actually really been doubling down on this lately, is the online communities are so crowded right now. It's so noisy. It's so hard to break through that I think the world is going to be trending more towards just the old school, like, let's be in the same place. Like, there's
Absolutely.
no way to build a better real connection in life. There's no way to build, actual meaningful like feedback and interaction with people. And so there's a higher barrier, right? Because it takes more work. You have to be in a place, you have to set up the space, you have to create the environment, invite people, get people to show up. But in fact, that is a plus, not a negative, because it's not just this like what is now a bot infested universe on
Absolutely. Oh
Twitter.
yeah.
Yeah. So then let's when it comes to actually structuring these events, this is the third thing I
Sure.
think I heard you say is like, you kind of want to have a purpose, right? A kind of specific agenda, like why are you coming to this thing, like what's the goal, and then you want there to be something ideally kind of to do, or something to draw people in, right? Where sometimes that's alcohol, but now maybe that's a little played out, and so how do you think about building a structured intention? How do you think about building events that are not just around drinking and things? And let me just put this out there as well, as from my side, right? Like I've watched your journey over the years, and we've known each other long enough that we have, gotten really drunk together, and then to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
evolve into this space. And I myself, since for the last 3 months now, I haven't had any alcohol really. I mean, I think I had one
Congrats.
drink total. So it's something I've worked on. I don't know whether it's something I don't want in my life at all, but it is something that I have found that my default to using that as a socialization tool is not something I like. Right. I want it to be, as I've gotten older, the consequences of alcohol have gone up and the joy
Yeah.
has gone down.
Absolutely.
So I just want to experiment with that. And so I think you're a great person, and I think it's great to get to share that message. So what is it, maybe, yeah, what is it like to build events and socialize that without leaning on that as a crutch, or how has it impacted your thinking around these things?
Yeah, so it's with the Comic Con one as a good example, right? Like, so that got started because everybody, Comic Con, it's like a big nerdy crowd, right? So it takes over the whole city and everything there. And I would always put together a big handful of panels, and then there'd be other industry folk around. And it's like, hey, Ross, we should all hang out. What's going on? And so the intent behind that event is it's a tabletop industry gathering, and it's on the Thursday. I have it as early as we possibly can without going over preview night. That way, the people that can meet there can know who's going to be at the show. They have a chance to set up another meeting if they'd like, or they can just hang out, right? Because if we have it on a Saturday night, at that point, we're already fried from the show. Oh my gosh, we can't meet on Sunday, and you're going to forget to exchange information or anything there. But if you have it on the Thursday, hey, you've had the first day of the show. Cool. We kind of get the booth is running. We've had our panel or two. Now we can kick off and we are in gear, right? And so that's really nice. Having it at a brewery is cool because the Ballast Point Little Italy that we do it at, it's it's like 10 minutes Uber away, with a little bit of traffic in there. So it's disconnected from the swirl of downtown. So if you're there, you are present and you are there. You're not trying to go off to the next party, do the whole thing and all of that. And then it is a gathering where I am hosting it. So you walk in, oh my gosh, thank you for being here. Yes, you're signed on, check. And then, oh my gosh, how you been? What's going on? Anybody you're trying to meet? And I'll help with that. That way that it's a gathered structure there. Then Ballast Point also has some really nice non-alcoholic stuff. They've got like a ginger pineapple thing that's super nice and everything there. So I make sure that that's on that. And then we have food because you got to eat a little bit of food if we're going to have it like 7 to 10. But then it's hey, we're going to hang out and gather. And so in the description, I've got this is for gathering, this is for connecting, this is for meeting folk. There's none of this like, hey, this is like, there's no drink tickets. You're not being forced these things. While a sponsor covers the first, $1,000 on the tab, that's just because people are going to go and grab their stuff. But after that, it's definitely hey, we're running this thing. Then halfway through, I'll hop back on the mic. Thank you for all being here. It's so great to see you. I'm glad we can do this. If you're looking for anything, let me help you out. There we go. And that way it's it's structured. It has its point, but it's definitely because of the messaging going on. It's a gathering event, right? So, which I think is very different than after hours at a convention. You're all meeting at the bar. Hey, there's always, we're going to go to that one bar. We're all there. PAX Unplugged, that circle bar is like a really great place to meet now, but now it's so packed that when you're there, it's almost louder inside that bar than it is at an event. And then for those that don't drink anymore, after about 11:30, everybody else is so sloshed. You're like, cool, I'm going to be in bed by 11:45. What a great evening I'm going to have with some sleep. Right. So, which is, there's no judgment there, but it's just saying that's been a funny thing to notice at shows, which we can cover later too. But yeah, so like with those kind of events that I'm running, I try to keep them structured that way that we do that. I've run other ones with some other companies, and it's been that same vibe. You keep it at about 3 hours, do a nice hangout, do a whole thing, and then you're good.
Yeah, so I think that's that. So again, just going to try to distill what I hear is like the kind of universal principles for success here, because you clearly are doing a lot of things right. So it's a the filtering of the specific people up front, being clear in the invitation what the point of what the purpose of this is. I think the personal touch and greeting people and welcoming people directly makes a big difference, right? You just you set the tone. You clearly are in charge of the environment and helping to bring that together. I think giving people the option, for people that want to drink, they drink. For people that don't, they don't. They're not forced into it, as you would feel like, I have if I have an open bar, I feel like I'm leaving money on the table if I'm not drinking. Right. It's a weird gamer instinct of mine that I have.
Totally. Yeah. It's where that at first $1,000, it'll get blown through in about an hour, and then like no one feels like they're.
Yeah. And then, I think it's really also interesting thinking about the timing of when you host the event, and the beginning of a long weekend or at the end, or what kinds of things people are going to be more likely to do. And so I think knowing the timing, knowing the size of the event, knowing the structure and purpose of it. Do you do any follow up afterwards? Is there like is there any structured process to that?
So I do it through Evently or whatever, like the one that's based through text, right? So I'll shoot out a text at the beginning, like about a week before, and then a couple days after. I just started picking up sponsors for this thing because it became a little pricey. So those things, I think I have to get money and all of that there when it makes that jump, right? So I'll do a couple of promotions, but hey, thank you to our sponsors for this thing there. Go check out their Kickstarter, or we had sponsors the last 2 years, right? And so, which has been good. And then I try to make sure that. Good.
Yeah, that's interesting to me also. So and again, like for those that are listening, that I do think I am speaking specifically to the importance of running things, professional level events at conventions and at your hometown, and being able to gather people together. But this same stuff applies whether you're setting up a play test with friends, whether you're doing a party, whether you're trying to gather and make friendships around your home, or help build a local community. All of these principles are universal, which is why I'm so interested in them. But I'm also interested in this idea of like getting sponsors, right? It's a shift really from saying, hey, I'm hosting, I'm paying for everything, I'm setting this up, to the, okay, now I need to bring in somebody else who's going to pay for some of, or all of, or maybe even you make a profit off of some of these kinds of events potentially. What does that process look like?
Right? So
yeah, sounds nice.
Yeah. So it's funny, right? So like I ran a con for 10 years here in San Diego, right? And that was we we'd bring in sponsors to do stuff. We had vendors and all of that. And that's where I learned a lot of that. Hey, you want to be at the door when they're coming in and everything there. But even then, like our sponsors for doing it, it helped cover certain parts of it, not the whole thing. And so with the party, I had initially I was I need some sponsors, and there were some companies like, hey, I want to come in, I want to pay for the whole thing, and then I want to do all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, that's actually not what this gathering is about. This is much more people that are going to be speaking at panels, and they're going to be content creators. There's going to be the other exhibitors, but I would love to have a few sponsors to help cover some of these things, and then we can promote your game. I've got a whole area of the brewery now. We can have your game set up. We can do handouts at the beginning. I can do a text at the beginning before the thing. We can do a text at the end, or if you have something else you want to do. But then I meet with them beforehand. Hey, so that you understand, here's what the party is. It's not just like you can come in and just buy it. That's not what's going on. We've nurtured a really cool community here, and I've had a lot of people say that they look forward to that every year, which is very humbling and nice to hear because it does take a lot of work. But at the same time, like it does cost money, and so my dad always jokes, "You should make money on this thing," and I'm like, I just don't want to lose any money. That's kind of my thing on that, because if I wanted to make money, I bet I could probably turn this into a whole thing, but that's not what I want to do. So
Yeah, well, and that it's always a really interesting thing, like this process of what you decide to make professional, when money's a motivator, versus when it's something that you really want to do in general. And I think these kinds of things, like even like this podcast, right? I don't make any money off this podcast. I just do it because I love it, and I love to have these kinds of conversations, and I like to help people. But also, it has like a lot of natural positive effects, right? It helps grow my brand. It helps attract me to have conversations with people that either a deeper dive conversation than we might have otherwise, or a conversation with people I would never have otherwise. And so there's these like knock-on effects of like positive value that I get from it, even though it's not something I'm doing for money or just to get stuff. And so I think that this gatherings and these things like that are like that for you, right? You have such a deep network of contacts and people that are genuine relationships you built because you put in the work to build those relationships and create the space where those relationships can form.
I would agree, right? Like, and it's something I enjoy doing too. So it's not like I'm like trying to capitalize on it, but it is nice that I can make these spaces and do these things. And then, hey, Ross, I need help finding a person that can do manufacturing for this, or hey, I need a really cool designer. Do you know somebody? Or hey, I need an artist that can do this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, totally. I'm happy to help out with all of those things there, which is great. And then for the main party, obviously, it's a good thing to do. Also, it kind of helps me because, like, for Comic-Con as an example, I do a lot of panels. I do the RPG Play Theater. We're doing a lot more of these tabletop designer tracks and pitch things. And so being able to have a party that's like outside of the structured Comic-Con stuff, I can be like, hey, it's great that you're pitching your game and doing your thing. You should come to this gathering too. You're going to meet a lot of folk there, and that'll be a fun, nice, casual hangout, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. And so okay, so let's use that as a jumping off point here, because we've talked about a lot of what goes into a successful frame. We've talked a little bit about the the idea of like when you're doing a sponsor, there's a trade-off of the value that the sponsor wants to get out of it versus maintaining the integrity of the event and ensuring that those things are aligned. When it comes to crafting community, which as you said, one of the great things about the tabletop industry, one of the reasons why I'm in this industry, is because people are genuinely like friendly and helpful, and we're all happy to share information and kind of lift each other up in a way that is just not the case in a lot of other industries. And so now that you're a member of the board of GAMA, which is the sort of Game Manufacturers Association, supposed to be very much, that's the whole point of it, right? Is to help build this community officially, to help support people on all different sides of the industry. What do you view as like your role there? How do you view the way things that whatever people can get out of GAMA today, and maybe where you'd want to see it go to serve the industry better going forward?
Sure, great question, right? So as we discussed, I've been around for a long time. I've seen GAMA evolve from when it used to be at Bally's to where it is now. It's last year in Louisville, and then it'll be in Baltimore going forward. Yeah, dude, I see you smiling there. So like, it used to be, I used to go over to March Madness and stay at the Mirage for college pep band, and then literally, change my bag and then go over to Bally's to do all this stuff when I was working at like Privateer Press and Cool Money or Not. So
Yeah,
it's been kind
yeah.
of fun to
No,
watch that
I had a lot
change.
more fun at GAMA when it was in Vegas, but it was a lot less actually useful
Well,
as a show.
that's the thing. It's changed so much since I was going. It's just like a marketing manager to now on this end of it, right? And so what's cool is that the game has got two big things going for it. One is the organization, and then one is the expo, right? And so the organization itself, there's the different tracks for publishers and for retailers and for distributors and creators and media and events, and there's different things in there. The main thing you get by joining is getting access to the membership directory, which gives you emails for everybody out there, which on a professional level, instead of just going on social media and shooting your shot to hope somebody sees it at the right time, which discoverability, as we discussed, is way down. So like that's the right person at the moment has to see it. Instead, being a part of that directory is great. And then there's a couple different GAMA online groups from their Facebook group and their Discord, which are pretty much kind of like the industry water coolers, right? Like you're going to get publishers yelling at GAMA, retailers yelling at publishers. It's all good stuff.
Hmm.
And then there's Expo, right? And then for tabletop, we don't really have a lot of trade only shows. Obviously, a lot of the distributors host their own shows where they invite retailers out to showcase and see the new stuff. But Expo is the only one where everyone's there. Obviously, Gen Con has its stuff going on too, but it's paired up with the biggest consumer show in the US. So being able to go to Expo and just being like, hey, we've got a few days of panels and presentations and game nights, and then we've got a few days of Expo Hall and game nights. So that works out really well. So what we've seen recently, at least what I've been seeing, is especially on this end now as a board member since August or October, is that you've got brand new folk that are coming in. Hey, I've got a new business. I've got a new thing. What do I get out of this? How do I do it? And then you've got a lot of the vets who've been around for a long time being like, cool, doing it for Expo. I've got a presentation. I'm going to go to these meetings. I'm going to see these people, reaffirm a lot of these connections that we'll see throughout the year. But at Expo, the energy is different because we're all there to discuss business, and there's no extra, like we don't have to be on for consumers where like we would for a Gen Con or a Spiel, because while we're excited to have those trade meetings, if we see some fans or we got to go do a sell thing at a booth, we can do that. So I think with Expo, you also brought up like, what am I excited for? And so like as a board member now, I'm getting ready to launch a survey for our media and events division. And I want to know how else can I improve the benefits for media members and for event members. We've got a lot of folk that have either been coming around for a long time with at running their TikTok channels or their blog channels. They know they can talk to publishers and do these things. What else can GAMA offer? Like I'm hoping to get some mentorship programs in there. I'm hoping to get a better streamlined communication between publishers and media. And then also, like, I would love to get more of the content creators that aren't part of GAMA. And I do my best to like do outreach to people that are on the Magic Con circuit or miniatures guys that have huge YouTubes or RPG creators that are doing all these things. And I'll see them post online being like, oh, I need sponsors for my Twitch stream giveaway. And it's like, well, you have to hope that the right marketing manager at the right time is seeing your Instagram story, And it's like, well, if you just join GAMA for like $300, now you can post in there and get all these things and do all this content and be this professional organization, which is really nice.
Yeah, yeah. And so the posting, is this posting in the GAMA like it's like a Facebook group or in their on their website forums, or what do you recommend for people to get the most value?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both, right? So I think if let's say you and I ran a really cool YouTube channel, right? And we do regular streaming and we do stuff for trading card games, right? Like I think being able to hello, we are this channel. Here's our views. We can post in the GAMA Facebook group or in the Discord and be like, we're gearing up for a big event. We're going to be doing card game preview bonanza, right? And we would love some sponsors. Like that way that then companies that we know we want to reach out to, maybe some sleeve companies or some other publisher stuff, they could hand us, say, oh, great, let's get in contact. Or if not, there could be new companies we hadn't thought of that are doing that there. And then at the other time, just having the publisher directory, hey, making sure I have my contacts with sleeve companies, publisher companies, accessory companies doing all these things. I think that's really good because now, because of discoverability being down, right? I think one of the best things I'm seeing is as a marketing manager or marketing, whatever role I've been in at companies, I'll go make sure that my favorite or preferred channels are sending me emails. Because like Rodney Smith, man, that guy's hitting me up once a month with his general publisher B2B email being like, hey, I've got my new videos. We've got these new things. I have some slots opening up. You should hit me up. So now instead of me having to be like, oh, crap, I got to reach out to Rodney to get a video, I'm already getting his email letting me know when his openings are. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'd love for more content creators to be approaching it that way. That way that, hey, they're hitting up all their clients. So then we know, oh, cool. If I got to book this person for a shout out or for a thing, I can just reach out versus having to like track down their info and do all this stuff, right?
Yeah. So there's the logistics of like how people communicate and making sure that the right people can access the right partners and the right information at the right time, which I think is a great service and a fundamental thing that I agree. I'd love to see Gamma do more of and have more of a hub for that sort of thing and have that be communicated better. People be more aware of those assets.
Right.
But let's zoom out. Let's zoom out a little bit more broadly and talk about this exact marketing puzzle, right? This exact content and events and media and events being a part of it. But we started to talk about this. We've alluded to this multiple times throughout the conversation already. But it's the biggest challenge in the entirety of the game industry, I think, which is this discoverability and how can you create content that people want to watch or successfully partner with partners who either have channels that are successful, but also that are going to be successful partnership for you, right? I mean, I've done plenty of these deals where somebody had a lot of viewers and they showed off our product and we got nothing out of it, right? And I've partnered with small creators where we got massive conversions. And but it's I personally have not broken this formula. I think that there is a lot of challenges and it's very, very hard. So I want you to solve this problem for me. Or at the very least, give me some insights on how we should think about it. Both, for me as you could use me as Stoneblade as an example. We can use, somebody else out there that's starting out. I've got another big scale project we just announced with Bandai for Gundam Assemble, which is obviously a bigger budget, bigger promotion item. So there's different things at different scales. You can attack this anywhere you want, but man, oh man, is it the number one question I get both inside my team and outside in terms of how to succeed in this space.
Yeah, that's, as you brought up, like that's the question, right? Like how are we going to come at it in a way that makes sense? And so I try to break up my content creator channels by different divisions, right? And it's like, what kind of content are they making? How big is their audience and what platform are they on? Right. And obviously you want a certain level of quality of content. Hey, is their audio good? Is their visual stuff good? What's going on there? And then you can look at their community and be like, well, how is their community engaging? Are they just in the comments of like their YouTube video, or do they run a Discord where they're doing giveaways? Or do these people go to shows? Are they a part of the larger community, or are they kind of like in their own little island fiefdom thing? And then once you kind of know that, then you can come out there and be like, cool, we can figure out these different activations that we can do. I love a big, hey, we've got everyone together. We're going to do a big kickoff. We're going to do these things. And whether you have the budget to fly everybody out or you go to a hub where everybody is. So like most recently, I was doing some stuff freelance for a crowdfunding campaign, and they had just gotten in a couple of their physical copies of the stuff. And they're like, hey, we need to get this out to reviewers. What do we do? And I'm like, well, let's have the designer come out to LA. I'll go up there and then we can book a place and then just bring a bunch of content creators in and we can play the game. We can film content. We can talk about this stuff. This will be really fun. So we got about 8 to 10 content creators with a mix of big numbers to good community support and stuff there. We paid them a decent amount for the day. And the ask was film short form content, which then you can post on launch day and then throughout the campaign. That we were not asking like a specific, you need to post X number of times and do these things, but hey, get a couple cool things, do a nice video. We'll have the designer right there. And we did that. We covered food. That the place we did it at, it was one of their first times doing that. They host a lot of game nights in LA, so they have a really cool 2-table setup. But that way, like it kind of helped set this bar for, hey, here's what we can do. We can go from there, right? And having that kind of in-person stuff is good. But at the same time, that only covers one event. Now you've only got that content stuff. What do you do as well? And so The other pullback moment is going, what kind of content do you want to have? Do you want to have education content or entertainment content? And that's been a big thing I've been trying to like grow out and expand more for my marketing strategy is I think education content, there are certain channels where that stuff lives and breathes. Rodney Smith is a great example, right? Rebecca Scott's for her how to plays. They are a beacon for you want to learn how to play a game. They're making it, you can go there. But at the same time, they aren't doing wacky fun play. Hey, we're going to play Gloomhaven for 24 hours straight and see if we're still alive at the end of the live stream kind of stuff. Right. And so knowing that you've got this nice mix of, hey, I can go here for education and here for entertainment is really good. As a publisher, we should be the core source of where that knowledge is. With all the SEO search, everybody's searching for stuff on ChatGPT now. And then just in general, like knowing that our website's going to be the home place where that stuff lives is great. But then all the fun content, hey, we're going to do card previews with these people here, or a miniature painting thing over there. That's fine, whether it's on Twitch or Instagram Reels or some of those things. So I think if you can have a nice mix of that style of content, you've hit your stuff. But then at the same time, knowing your marketing narrative that you're sharing with that strategy is key, right? So like I try to make my own tent poles when doing a marketing campaign, when you're getting ready for pre-announcement stuff, pre-order, launch, duration, and then ending stuff there. And that way you've made your own beats, which then you can keep people to. And then as long as you've shared that with the influencers you're working with, they can get excited in their own way too. And then if they're part of the conversation, it's not as transactional, right? Like obviously, hey, we're going to pay you for this thing and do all of that. But the more content you can do where it's genuine, everyone wins.
Yeah, so I strongly agree with that. I think again, the difference I found between the influencers where the conversion has been real for us and we've seen some real impact and not is like the influencer is also a genuine fan of the product, like they actually like it and want to play it, as opposed to I was clearly paid to play this and it just everybody can feel that and read that. But I want to get a little bit more concrete because I love this idea. You threw out a lot of things that all sound good, right? We want to, schedule these events, get educational content, get entertainment content, know the different types of content that are there, find ways to bring in these different influencers, lists of people who, based on the categories of things they content. And then you talked about, but you sort of answered the question a little bit that I already had in my head, which is like, that feels like a lot. And it feels like kind of a little bit of a spray and pray kind of strategy. But then you said, no, there's brand pillars, right? There's these ideas, these messaging pillars that I'm going to build around. What does that mean? And what does can you ideally with a concrete example, either from a project you've worked on or, pick a random project, pick whatever, pick Ascension. I don't know.
I was just at Atomic Mass Games for the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I love working there. Great team, awesome stuff. And we continued to work with Star Wars and Marvel. Good times, right? And we came out with 128 products over the last 18 months or so. And that's a lot of stuff. I didn't have a massive marketing team. And so we had to combine stuff into these tentpole projects, right? And so, hey, we got X-Men that are grouped up. We've got Rogue One characters that are grouped up. We've got these things that are grouped up. We know when the pre-order announcement for consumers is going to be. We know what the pre-order announcement for retailers is going to be and everything there. And so knowing which content needs to be shared in those pillars is huge, right? So when we're announcing the retailer pre-order stuff, we know the retailers need to know where to go. We know that the consumers need to be excited just enough to be asking the retailer, hey, when are you going to put in your pre-order, right? And then we have to go, okay, do those retailers, do they need in-store posters or do they just need digital assets for their social media pages? Do they need an email reminder? Have I got the messaging stuff set up for the distributor that is going to be bringing it up there? Do I need to go buy a magazine page on I'll say GTM, but RIP GTM.
With magazines, a lot of the previous magazine channels are not quite the real thing.
Yeah. Well, we can get to that, but kind of those things there, right? And so,
okay, but those are specific dates and events that are you're building around, and then you said, okay, yeah, do I need posters? Do I need digital assets? How do you answer that question? How do you know?
Right. Well, so part of it comes down to is knowing which products are going to be key, right? We all have the ABC product. Core products are always going to get that kind of stuff, right? Ascension core box, boom, or the refreshed version or whatever your 2026.
Yeah.
This is the new, I want people to buy this thing. That's what stores need, right? For every little tiny expansion, probably not, right? But your core pillar, this is a core pillar product. Man, where's your window cling? Where's your this? Where's your asset package that I could send to any press people or influencers? They can pull the PNGs, get the logos, do all that. That way that, and then when we're talking about it in interviews or we're having influencers play it or we're going to be at a convention, that's the core stuff there, right? And then knowing when that window is going to be from our pre-order all the way to, hey, when's that next launch going to be of stuff? But then you're going to sprinkle in your expansions. Here, there's going to be an upgrade for the cultists or upgrade for these things. I'm trying to pull my stuff on that, right?
No, you're doing great. So okay, so there's a calendar of like key events and key beats that are going to happen throughout the calendar year. So that's both product release dates, pre-release dates, your order dates. There's some budget of stuff that you're going to provide. So some of that is digital assets, which is cheap to create and you can distribute freely, including information about the product, visuals, etc. Some of that is physical stuff that you might send to stores. Some of that is events that you're going to create that will bring people together, either online for a reveal or a Q&A, or in person for an influencer event, or on somebody else's channel. And based on the total amount of products and maybe the total budget you have, you kind of just use your gut to allocate those things, like how those work.
For in person, for the store stuff, right? That was your question. Right? I was like, I kind of for the store things. That's when you're hanging out with the sales team and hanging out with your distributor guys, and you're being like, how many stores are actively buying our stuff, and then of those stores, how many are like actively doing the reorders and everything there. Obviously, I can't share super numbers on a thing for that, but like distributors and sales reps know which stores are actively buying your product and doing all those there. And at the same point, there's really only like 30, 40 shops in the whole of the US that are really doing the numbers that we want to be involved with. And so being able to be a part of those things and do that is really fun. But then at the same time, pulling back a little bit within those marketing beats, your speed and your frequency in which you engage with those beats gears up for the final announcement moment, right? Obviously, 6 months out, we've announced, we've done a few teasers, we've dropped some cool art, we've done some little playthroughs, but then as we're gearing up for that like 2 weeks before announcement, it's like Candy Crush, baby. It's like, how many cool little things can we pop in? Hey, we're going to have our live stream scheduled this week. We're going to do an Instagram live takeover on this thing. Oh, we're going to do a cool card preview this, and then be a part of the giveaway. And we've shared out keys on these things. And that's where that excitement content comes into play. And then once it's out, boom, stores have it. They're going to be playing it. Did you go? And then it's all your capture content from that, right? Are you doing your spotlights? Are you doing your recaps? Are you doing all of those things? And all of that you've got to monitor too. And some of that stuff is the not fun work, right? Because you got to go and track down, okay, which stores did this stuff? Did they work there? Am I talking to them? Now I got to write up these blogs and do these things. But if you've got a passionate team, right? Some of those social media reels you can capture and do some of that stuff. And that's stuff that like on the shorts and the reels and stuff, I've had to like retrain myself. I love a good blog, man. Like if I can just get a blog and read it and hit my beats and call it a day, but that's not that I'm old now, right? Like,
it's not totally old. Anybody that wants to could go to justingarydesigns.substack.com and see my blog, and it's not done. I still love it. I love long form content. I like still reading things, and I record hour-long podcasts. But I also hear you. I am also now working on trying to do more short form and trying to be more in that space, even though it's not my preference.
Me neither. Like I could write a blog all day, but you tell me how to put together a 30-second reel, and my brain just short circuits. But what I've been doing is finding the people that are good at that, and then talking with them. And man, there are some marketing people now that are so smart when it comes to doing these shorts and these reels and these things. And it is what's been cool is seeing content creators pass the veil and then become publisher marketing, and then how they're able to turn that from here's my community to here's the brand that I'm supporting. And some of these folk are doing such good content, and it's like, cool, I want those folk on my team so that we can figure out how to do that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I mean it's really great, and I hope people are are following a lot of this stuff, because I think it's what I would kind of want, you know. So we have this, we're pretty good at this for crowdfunding, right? So we have a calendar template of the, the beats we want to hit, of the people that we work with, of the messaging and how we want to get it out. We typically do 2 to 3 crowdfunds a year. We're really good at getting the message out, activating our audience, bringing people in. I think we're pretty terrible at this on the retail side. And part of the reasoning is exactly the stuff that you talked about, which is like the really like not fun, grunty behind the scenes work. That's like, because when I do crowdfund marketing, I can very readily tell you how many link click throughs I got, to how many followers, to how much per revenue was that turned into. So I can, the gamer in me loves that data, and I love
Oh,
to know
it's
what my
awesome.
score is, right? But when I do like, this sort of more vague, like awareness marketing, or throw a poster at stores, or whatever, like I have no clue what's happening with it. Like I just have to hope. So what, like, how are you converting that into granular like data to know, like, yes, this works, we should keep doing it, this didn't work, if we'd done better, or we could do this better this way? Like, how are you building
So
that? And
funny,
yeah.
funny enough, and this is like Gamma hat on. It's at every company I have worked at since I have been in the industry, I get a premiere presentation at Gamma Expo, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm going to hang out. We're going to get this 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm going to ask retailers a bunch of questions. Hello, here's my slide with this kit. Do you like this kit? Does this work for you? Right? And you're going to hear the same. We don't want our poster folded. We don't want these things, all of that. So, like, weird things I've started doing is doing double sided posters where one has the white box where you can write up your event night stuff, and then the other one is just a full art with the logos up top. So it's like it's that you can pick. Do you want to have a one that's just for the game night demo, or do you want to have a cool art of Ahsoka fighting some Mandalorian dude, right? So, and then it's calls with stores, right? And then asking the distributors to share that information too. Hey, can you ask these stores this question? Doing some of these things, you're never going to have the full amount of survey stuff you want back. And then you're going to have some retailers who are wearing the same Iron Maiden t-shirt since high school tell you their thoughts about something from 20 years ago that has no relevance now, but man, that's their moment that they are going to tell you what's going on. But still, that's still information that you can know, right? I do a lot of store visits, so when I travel to new cities for a show or for a thing, I try to take an hour or two out to go visit local stores. I did that when I was in Canada for Canada Plays. When I go out to different trade shows, I'll try to take a couple hours and go do some stuff there. I don't do it for like Gen Con and PAX Unplugged, but if I'm going out for that kind of stuff, like I was in Arizona for a store opening last October, there were 5 hobby stores within like 10 miles, and got to drive around and check out those shops and do those things. And they're all different, and they were all busy on a Saturday. And it's like, that's really informative. Like obviously they're in the desert and they've got AC in these things, which is cool. But
Literally.
like, yeah. But like, like Mox just opened up a brand new shop out there, right? So obviously
Yeah.
they did the market research and was like, okay, there's people gaming out here.
And,
So
and this is Mock's Boarding House, for those that don't know, which is like the best game store I think in the country by far. They're the ones in Portland and Seattle I've been to, and they're just like a concierge, but
yeah,
service for your game selection, and really good food and drink. And it's like a place I could bring non-gamer friends and have them feel comfortable and come in. It's a really wonderful model.
absolutely right. And so I think part of that is just the work, and then also kind of trusting your gut a little bit. Hey, I can make this kit for X amount of money. I'm going to make 100 of them or 200 of them. I'm going to ship them to these stores. And if I get a 75% engagement, they put up the poster for a month, they handed out the promo cards, and then I can send a survey afterwards. And if they majority fill it out, I feel like I have done my due diligence of send kit out, they take photos, send it back, tag us, and then fill out survey. Like, but also none of that's new. Like that's all just the wheel doing its thing, but it's people powered marketing. And at the end of the day, like that's what the work is, right?
Yeah. And you think that sort of stuff still works today, even in the TikTokification of product and stores and
Absolutely.
discovery?
I think we're going to see a huge rise in people going to play in game stores,
Hmm.
because I love playing at home with my buddies, doing my thing. We have our own little hobby days. I book out an Airbnb once a year for us, and we go hang out and do a big gaming day, which is great. But at the same time, like, man, I had some friends come into town, and we ended up playing at the game store the other day, and it's fun because you want to go and be around that kind of stuff. But I think with this rise in TCGs we're seeing right now too, right? Like people know that if they want to be a part of that draft night or that tournament night, they got to go to the shop, they got to do a thing, or they got to be part of these clubs. Like most recently, I've been working with this group called Ladies of D&D. They've been around for a year here in San Diego. They're a 900-person Discord, and they're selling out monthly events with 80 to 110 people at venues, all getting into D&D, all in the last year. So like people obviously want to go and play games in person. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, well, and I'm working on a blog post for my Substack about this, but I I have a philosophy that as the kind of the rise of AI and the rise of this sort of online content glut and the rise of it being impossible to tell the difference between people and robots online, that in-person interactions people are going to double down. That this ability to get together and have like physical gaming and connections and just the human interaction that is irreplaceable is going to become more and more valuable. So I actually think our industry, whereas my bet would have been, you roll back the clock 20 years and you're talking about the iPhone coming out and then iPad coming out and then all the cool technology, I would have thought for sure tabletop games were dead. Like I was like, this is just not going to last. There's no way. And it turned out to be the exact opposite. It's just been growing and people have been really clamoring for what is real. I think that's just going to become more and more of a big deal. So I think you're right to have that instinct of like, instead of chasing, don't ignore the thing, the channels that are out there, right? You do need to, post some short form content and partner with people who are good at that. But I think this ability to like double down on the physical spaces and the communities that you can build and control yourself, either by organizing events, as we started talking about, or by supporting those stores, not just regular mom and pop tabletop game stores, which are great, but the ones that really invest in their communities, the ones that will invest in pushing games. Because it's been my experience that a lot of the stores that are out there are not what they used to be, right? It used to be, back when I first launched Ascension 15 years ago, it was, I could go to a place like GAMA, I could get the distributors excited about a project. I showed them Ascension. They were excited about it. They would tell the stores, and the stores would see it. Some of the stores would see it at GAMA. Then they would tell customers, and then that's how the game would spread. And now it's somewhat the opposite, right? It's fans have to discover the game first, then they tell their stores, then the stores tell the distributors, and then they place orders. I don't know if you found that to be the case here, but it's like a very tricky.
That is exactly it. But also 15 years ago, there was maybe 2,000 games coming out a year, maybe, right? And now we're at about 8,000 games coming out a year, right? And here we are on a Tuesday, and I'm sure your inbox this morning was loaded with a bunch of folk announcing their new crowdfunding campaigns on Kickstarter or Game Founder, BackerKit or whatever, right? And so like every Tuesday we're getting hit up with those things. And then there's X amount of games that come out a year. Obviously Board Game Geek has their hotness list and ICV2 tracks some stuff, but like it's hard to know what's coming out. And you and I are both plugged in, right?
Right.
And so it's tough that you've got this stuff going on. But at the same time, stores want to be a part of the cult of new too, right? And so if you can activate with that, doing these launch events, doing these things, doing this stuff, it's good. But it does take the extra work because, so I had Chris O'Neill on a panel last year at Comic-Con. And we were talking about how to get games onto store shelves. And he was saying how it doesn't matter if your game has amazing art or it's well designed, because every game now pretty much has great art. It's got a good designer. It's got these trusted things. It's got good packaging. It just takes that extra little bit of magic and then luck to have the right person see it at the right time, share it out, and do the whole thing. There's some Netflix just put Independence Day back on the algorithm, right? It's not July 4th. Why is it up there? It's so random. But like, man, I live Independence Day. I clicked it and I started watching it. And I was like, cool. For some reason, I just watched Independence Day on a Monday night. Why did I do that? Right? But the same kind of thing happens at like a game night. Somebody brings a game. Hey, here's this thing. Check it out. Oh my gosh, now we're playing it again. Like we were playing Battlestar Galactica, the board game, at a game night a couple weeks ago because my buddy pulled it out, and we hadn't touched that game in like a decade, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, it has some modern things that I would love a ease of play upgrade
Oh,
compared to
I
some of
would. Yeah,
those.
there. I could complain about that game all day long. I mean,
Yeah,
the heart of it is really cool, but the
yeah.
execution leaves a lot to be desired.
But
Yeah.
but also back in the day, we would say it was one of the best
No.
licensed games that there was, right? And so
Yeah. 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 No, more than good enough for what it needed to be.
yeah, but like we were looking at it being like, oh man, you could make so many tweaks now and streamline this thing to be great. But it's just funny how even look, if Fantasy Flight Games was to release Battlestar Galactica today, as a reprint, I bet it would sell just fine.
Mm,
Because it's got good
yeah.
reviews, it's got good things. Oh my gosh, how fun, all of that. And it's fascinating how in our space of new, there's all these things that are working. So like when I brought up that I was with somebody that I was going to be on an interview with you for Ascension, and she was like, "Oh my
Mm,
gosh, I love Ascension. I love playing it." And I'm like, "Oh, where are you playing it?" She goes, "Oh, the app."
yeah.
Right. And she's like, she's digging on the app, and I'm like, "Oh, I should go get the in-person game." And she's like, "Oh, that'd be cool. I wonder how much different it is." Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it'll be different based on how many expansions she has in that app. This is the
Right.
base game.
Right. Yeah. If you try to shuffle everything together all at once in the
No,
physical
you're
world,
gonna
it's a
have
lot harder. That's a
massive-
lot harder than in the app. That's for sure.
But it's just funny because it's just, like nothing beats getting together with friends and playing games.
Yeah.
Like we were playing Commander last weekend with some buddies in town, and it was just a blast.
Yeah.
That's special.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, and so there's just been so many great insights on this, and I want to speak a little bit to how you budget for these things, right?
Sure.
Because we've talked a lot about the strategy, we've talked about how you identify partners, would be they influencers or stores or whoever to work with. We've talked about how to create spaces. We've talked about the different types of marketing materials that you can create digitally and physically to promote a product, and the calendar and how you build kind of tentpole events around it. But when you're launching something new, obviously there's some companies that just have, like a bunch of budget, but for most of us that are, smaller studios or on their own, like how do you think about what to spend here? And how do you think about how to iterate and learn with that? Like it's a very tough, I hear people throw out the number like 10% of your, your costs should be defaulted to marketing, but I think that's just kind of made up. So how do you think about this sort of thing?
It's a great question. And I think it's funny you bring up all the 10% of stuff. Like when I get called in to work on a crowdfunding campaign. So before I worked at AMG, I did the Gloomhaven one, right? Which we did. It was like 5 products in one, did a whole big thing. And Isaac was like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And my main question was, well, how much money do you want to make? And it's like, obviously we know what production costs for everything there. And we could say, oh, it's 10% of this. But like, if you've got a number that you want to make, that's a realistic number, not like an imaginary, I want to get a Ferrari on my birthday kind of thing. Right.
Lambo crowdfund.
Yeah. Right. Like, we can go cool. Like let's make up a number that we think we'd like to spend. Right. And let's make an imaginary budget of what we want. We want how to play video. We want some battle reports. We want some influencers. We want some things. And we want to do in-store stuff. I try to make my dream list first. And I go through that whole list. And then we look at money spends. Hey, what are the rate cards for these things? What are this on that? Some of those numbers are scary once you realize, oh shit, we got to spend actual money on this. Is that actually worth it? Or is that just a cool idea? Right. And so there's been a lot of things that were cool ideas that, okay, what is that video trying to accomplish? What is the promotion trying to accomplish? Can we turn that into something else and still get that beat? Right. And some of those things there. So that's what I try to go from on that. Like obviously, like you want to have a how to play video, you want to have a trailer, you want to do some of these things, but some of that stuff can be done just by putting in the powered work. I did some crowdfunding work I was mentoring these guys for a campaign called Whisker Wars. Glasshouse Games, super great kids. I say kids, they're in their 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
It was a cool deck building game. They had really cool art, and a lot of their funds went into the art because they wanted to have their game ready to go out the gate. And so when we were talking about like, hey, we want to have a video and do these things, they were like, cool. Can we just film ourselves just chatting and we put some cool graphics and then we run around the game store a little bit? I'm like, yes, because it still accomplishes what the goal is. It doesn't need to be this huge, complete, structured 3D turns and renders and all of this stuff. It's like, people, as long as you're communicating, when needs to get communicated, it's good. And then one of the guys learned Blender, right? And I'm going to learn Blender. I'm going to do this stuff. And I was like, great, you've saved yourself so much money, and now you've gained a new skill, right? And it was just doing the time and doing all of that. Obviously, like that was a different thing because there are indie stuff there. But when building that marketing budget, I like figuring out what are our dream projects, and then what are the things that we need, and then kind of going from there, right? Because I think we could throw numbers around all day, but really it's what's the goal of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, so there's the goal. So when you say goal, you mean goal in terms of like, okay, I want this campaign to make $1 million. You mean goal in terms of I need to educate people about the game. I need to get something that people can get hyped in 30 seconds.
Right. I think for the Candy Crush nature of a crowdfunding campaign, if we're going to be doing digital ads, that has an exact money spent, right? But we know that we can spend X amount of money and we're going to hit this many people and we're going to hope we're going to get that much conversion. That is a much different, like, hey, we're going to do the number crunching game and do a lot of that stuff there versus the experiential marketing of like, hey, we need to get a lot of impressions. We need to get a lot of eyes. How can we spend and do that? Is going to Gen Con, buying the side of a building and doing a cool food truck takeover going to have the same thing as getting a bunch of influencers to play the game early? What's going on, right? So I think part of it also comes down to is what are you trying to build as your company? Remember when Exploding Kittens rented out PAX West when it was still that, and they had that kitten adoption center thing at that point? Like, I still talk about that, right? And did it sell product? No clue. Did I go get the pet adorable kittens for like an hour and hang out? Yeah, it was great, And it's like, I'm sure that marketing meeting was a blast. Like, well, what are we going to do at PAX? Are we going to buy a thing and do a live play and deal with this? Or are we going to go work at the kitten shelter and then get a bunch of things, right? So it's
and I guess this ties into a deeper point here, because if my first instinct was like, yeah, man, I wish I had their brand, right? Like, Exploding Kittens or even for better or for worse, things like Cards Against Humanity that gets to do like these ridiculous promotions, right? That are like, super fun and super random and offensive, whatever. But that's not my brand. I couldn't do any of those things. But I do think it speaks to a deeper point, which is that knowing what your brand is, and brand just means like, what is the kind of, what's the value you're offering, what's the audience you're trying to offer value to, right? Like, is kind of that, like, what does that mean, right? So to circle back, like, I love deep diving on topics like this. For a lot of people, this is not their cup of tea, right? They tuned out a long time ago. They don't want to talk about like marketing and the ins and outs of budgets and spends and user acquisitions. But like, I love geeking out on this sort of thing. And so part of what I do when I promote products is I'm very open about, here's what we've done, here's how this works, right? Here's the things behind it. And for some people, that they love that stuff, and they'll come, and that will attract them. And so, would that work for everybody to do that sort of thing? No, clearly not, because you don't have the same level of nerddom that I do, right? So, so I think there's maybe it's a good kind of bigger picture marketing insight to pull us back out from the weeds, that figuring out what's true for you, right? Whereas for you, Russ, it's you love to gather people together. You have a genuine passion for for games, and a passion for the building communities, and so you've built a career around that and have built events and things for all the many companies that you've supported. And I love to geek out on design and love to have like great conversations with really interesting people. And so I've built my brand around these kinds of things. And so, for the people that are listening, maybe that's the bigger question to ask, rather than, whether I should have a two-sided poster or or an influencer or take over a food truck. But it's like, okay, who are you? Who do you, who do you want to be out in the world? And what are the things that are going to be true and authentic to you? And then that's going to attract, the right audience for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I could talk about this kind of stuff all day. I love talking marketing and talking those kind of stuff. And it's obviously, I know I was like, oh, an hour just passed, and I'm like, oh, we've been chatting for an hour. We could keep going, And so it's funny how that works. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, I think one of the best things too, and I have to keep reminding myself, is that Mattel still markets Uno, right? Like, they still have to have somebody that's putting together marketing assets for Uno, figuring out some marketing campaign, still posted on the Facebook, doing some stuff there, which is like, that's refreshing. because it's like, you think, oh yeah, people know Uno, they're gonna get it, they're gonna do all that, but it's like, hey, someone's gotta keep on that and keep it fresh and keep it going and everything there, which is amusing. I could nerd out about. I've been using this lately as my example, but like, have you? I know you're on a big health kick, so like you probably haven't had these, but like, have you had nerd clusters recently?
What's a nerd cluster?
It's the most sugariest thing of all time. Um, it's a gummy center with nerds all over it, and so like you can kind of, it's like if M and M's were to do a nerd, right? Instead of just being the nerds by themselves, still like a little piece you can chunk on that. They the 7-Eleven opened up a new section in their wall where they had to have like a grab bag stuff. Nerds didn't have one because they only had the little nerds candy themselves or the nerds rope, and Nerds Rope only lived next to beef jerky, like in the Slim Jim stuff, right? And so they figured they had to make a new candy brand to do that. But see, this is where I nerd out on stuff for marketing things, right? But at the same time, it's like for games, you got to think about that too. I think for a lot of the time, we're always like, it's going to be a box, it's going to sit on the shelf, we're going to do a thing, it's going to be an app, we're going to get new stuff, but
Well,
what's next?
yeah. Well, I love innovation. I have innovated to a fault sometimes, and I'm always trying to push the boundaries. We were the first deck building game on mobile. We're the only deck building game in VR. Soulforge Fusion built the first ever digitally printed, fully synced digital collection game that lives on all on in the physical world, on blockchain, on mobile, everywhere. And so
Right.
and I, because you never know when you're pushing the boundaries like that what's going to work and what isn't, but I do think what has there are many times where I have thought, damn, this game's really good, but we just didn't market it right. We just didn't get the good marketing. If only we had better marketing. If only we launched it better. And then there are other times where I'm like, sometimes that just means that the game wasn't good enough, right? As you said earlier, and Chris O'Neill from Brotherwise Games, who's also been on the podcast and is a good friend, and we worked together on a project that did pretty well. That Night of the Ninja, for anybody that wants to pick it up.
Yeah.
That good game, good art, good packaging, good product is like table stakes, right? You don't get success for that, but you need something that's like a really innovative hook and a reason for the oldest and still most effective marketing tool in the book to work, which is word of mouth, right?
Yep.
The oh my god, I can't wait to talk about this, right? The Exploding Kittens example you gave, right? Exploding Kittens. Now I've had so many guests from Exploding Kittens, from Elon to Carly to and even Eric Lang on episode 100 that just aired. We talked about his consulting and all of the different aspects that go into the way they think about things, which is always pushing the envelope, not just in the games, but in the marketing and how the packaging that could be furry, or that you could throw things, or that, things that just make you talk about it, make you want to share, make something remarkable. I think is really the most important part of marketing, is at the beginning when it comes to product.
Yeah, I mean, totally true, right? And so I like what they're doing with a lot of that stuff like that. But at the end of the day, pulling it back, like for games, it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like I'm on a big indie miniatures game kick right now, and I've got folk they're like, oh my gosh, Ross, like, there's a game announcing this week called from Viewer Games called Carnivore, and it's literally just dinosaurs that are going to be fighting each other, right? And the guy's got a really cool game called 1490 Doom. They just got included on the AV Club because the guy at AV Club has been playing a lot of Warhammer and then trying to find new skirmish games. He found this thing, picked it up. And then I was talking with Cody, the owner, and he's like, oh, yeah, we got covered an AV Club. It's really cool. I can talk about my dinosaur game. They go, rawr. And I was like, perfect. And it's just kind of like a fun thing. And is that game going to, break the bank and make $1 million? Who knows? But like for skirmish minis games right now, people like fun stuff and doing neat things. And the fact that we live in a world where somebody can literally just make a dinosaur game, and I'm excited for it. And my buddy and I are like, oh, we're going to have our dinosaur teams and we're going to fight at our next big Airbnb weekend that we do. Is going to be cool, So
Yeah.
what a time. But also, I think what's neat is, as gamers, there's so many games that we like playing, and this kind of gets back to why the industry is so sharing. While like we may have like a certain kind of game we like, man, I'll play a card game, I'll do a board game, I'll do a role playing game, I'll do a minis game or a party game. Like, we just like playing games. And so we don't limit ourselves to that by what type. And so I think because of our consumers like playing multiple kinds of games, that encourages the community itself to share more, because there's no competitiveness amongst the consumers.
Yeah, everybody's excited to have a cool new game, and we are, have a big tent. Even for us, when it's a competitor that releases a great new game, it's like freaking awesome. Now I get to play this great new game.
Yeah, now I get to play that game. Let's go check it out, right?
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. All right, man. Well, this has been great. Obviously, we've already blown past the hour, and I'm sure we could keep chatting more. And hopefully, we actually will get to chat. I'll see you next week. We'll both be at GAMA, so looking forward to that. And thank you for coming on and sharing the wisdom and talking about all the fun things that we love, and for being such a great friend and a great pillar in the community. I mean, I really do appreciate and acknowledge everything that you do to help everybody in the space connect, whether that be veterans and people on panels or new people just trying to get in. Like, you have had a massive direct personal impact on thousands of lives at a bare minimum that I know of. And it is something I'm so grateful for, and so grateful to get to just kind of highlight you and to praise you in this channel.
That means a lot. Thanks, Justin. I'm really glad for our friendship too. And I look forward to it, going on for a long time.
All right. Looking forward to it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Game design is a craft, and like any craft, it gets better with structure, feedback, and repetition. You're able to learn better when you're surrounded by like-minded people who support each other and lift each other up. The Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab is designed to give you all of that. Over 60 lessons from idea to publishing, a private game design Discord, and exclusive bonuses for those who join now and have been longtime podcast listeners. It's also the lowest price I've ever offered these exclusive lessons. And so you don't need to wait for a new class or wait for another opportunity. This is the opportunity. If you're ready to level up, if you're ready to build a career that you're passionate about, build the game you've been dreaming of, this is your time. Go to justingarydesigns.com to learn more. And thanks for listening. Thank you so much for supporting us through your pledges, podcast reviews, and enthusiasm on social media. It has been such an honor to be able to do this podcast for so many years and have such incredible guests and insights to present to you. This podcast would not exist without your support and your help. We've recently launched a new portal, justingarydesigns.com, where I've got weekly articles on game design and creativity, along with show notes, lessons from the podcast, and more exclusive insights to help you with your creative projects. We're building an entire community of people who are passionate about self-improvement, about creativity, and about spreading these messages as far and wide as we can. So please, if you're interested, come join us at justingarydesigns.com.